Hello, hello. I'm joining you today from like sunny Santa Barbara. Look at this view. It is stunning. That's the ocean over there, but if I go in the other direction, you can see the mountains. This is I like to call it the estate. She hates when I call it that. Home of Kim, who's one of our members. She owns La Pêche Events in Santa Barbara. Oh, here she comes. Maybe she'll make an appearance. She's coming out with her coffee. We had the workshop on visibility here yesterday, and we had 11 mobile bar owners. Here's Kim.
Good morning.
And for some reason, I decided to schedule a live right before we hop on the flight. So I'm going to do that today. And today we're talking about networking, which was voted upon by the members that were here last night for our happy hour as we gathered around the fire and all shared stories of success, as well as horror stories of being in this industry, which is just my favorite part about gathering live. And Trish from SipRig out in California gave me this bag of sweary affirmations. So I might start a little habit of sharing a sweary affirmation at the beginning of every one of these lives. So today's affirmation for everybody is not loving myself is total bullshit, which is true 100%. If you don't love yourself, that is absolutely bullshit. So that one is for us today. Aside from that, we're talking about networking. That was the topic that was selected by one of the members that came to the event yesterday. And we talked a lot about networking, and I guess they thought it was valuable enough that they wanted or thought that more people should benefit from it. I'm going to take a slightly different approach. One, I don't have as much time as I had yesterday, which was like all day to talk about this. So I've decided to talk about two methodologies from two different books. One's a classic book and has been around forever by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. And the other is from this book that I continuously talk up recently. Figured I'd show it to you. It's Ninja Selling by Larry Kendall. And he has an acronym for his little method of networking, which I really liked. So I'm going to share that with you as well. But first, let me share my screen so that you guys can see my notes on the other one. Let's see here. Let's try that. Present slide. Nope. Share screen. Got it. Let's see here. A window of. Here we go. Let's see if I can see what you see. Oh, that's not good at all, is it? You guys can't really see that. Yeah, there we are. So hopefully you guys can see that. Thumbs up in the comments if you can or not. But the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, this is how in the book he describes valuable networking tips. The first is to show a genuine interest in others. I'm going to tell you why I think this is sometimes hard is because when we're in networking opportunities or experiences, we're oftentimes really self-conscious. And so whether we want to be interested in someone else or not, we're really do I sound stupid? Did my introduction, make an impact? Am I wearing enough makeup? Is this shirt too tight? We're constantly thinking internally, but not from a place of like ego, from a place of real self-consciousness. And so going into any interaction with the reminder that this interaction isn't about me, it's actually about that other person, I think is helpful because we don't recognize or realize that they're probably feeling the same way about themselves, and they're coming into it probably really self-conscious. We're coming into it really self-conscious. And so just recognizing that I'm in this engagement to be interested and to learn about other people, I think helps curb a little bit of our own self-consciousness, but also reminds us like why we're networking to begin with. The next thing is to smile and be cheerful. I'm actually surprised that this was something that had to be written out, but okay. Maybe Dale interacted with enough people at the time when he wrote this book that he's like, y'all need to actually pretend to enjoy this. Okay. So a positive attitude when you go into a conversation leaves a better impression. If you didn't know that already, but Dale has listed that as one of the 7 things. Another one is to remember people's names. I really hate that this is one of them because I'm really, really bad at this. My husband's a fantastic networker, and one of the things that he does, there's a couple different things that they recommend. One, find a way 3 times to integrate that person's name either in the conversation or in your own head. Another one is to find some sort of alliteration. So like Sarah likes soccer or something like that. So like when you meet the person, you kind of are engaging multiple different visual impressions in your head, like soccer, Sarah, got it. Okay, cool. My husband always writes down names and everything that he got from that conversation almost immediately after he engages in that interaction. So he has a little notes app in his phone. He like titles it with the engagement that he actually met the person at. He uses an iPhone, and then he'll be like, Bobby owns this company, has 2 kids play soccer, basketball, blah, blah, blah. Right. And, then when he searches that, if he remembers, soccer Sarah or Bobby, bartender, whatever, right? He can search his notes for bartender and it'll come up with all the things that have that, right? And Bobby might be one of them. So if he ever, and he does this the other day, we were going to a restaurant, he saw something through the window that he knew. He's like, hold up, brings out his phone. He searches for what he remembers, comes up. He's like, okay, Dan, got it. He goes in and he's like, Dan, like he didn't really remember that dude's name, but he's created a system in which he can utilize to remember people's names. And he had all the other notes. He like 2 kids, does this for a living. The kids play soccer, whatever, right? Awesome. Let's see. The next one here, be a good listener. There are entire books on how to be a good listener. We are not necessarily hardwired to be good listeners. Especially entrepreneurs, because we're constantly projecting, right? We're doing things, we are, putting things out into the world. And so being a good listener is actually a mode of reception. You're sitting back, you're listening, you're receiving information. You're not listening to respond so much as listening to actually learn. So that's a really good habit to try and practice if you're not a natural good listener. The 5th thing is to find common ground, right? So anytime you meet someone new, you want to find a reason for you guys to be connected. And sometimes that's, this is why I think dudes talk a lot about sports, is because like, love them or hate them, you guys can always, say like, okay, football is the common connection, even if we have different teams, right? Because even having rival teams can be a point of connection. So try and talk about things that you have a real interest in or a passion in, and see if there's anything that connects you. And that can also be a point that you put in your notes as to something that you could talk about going forward, or even like follow up on. Give sincere compliments. I like this one. I actually talked about this yesterday in the workshop, because people can't help but appreciate when you call something out. Now, it's got to be genuine. It can't just be like, oh, I like your shoes, but you don't. Like, people can tell if it's authentic. But the minute you compliment something for someone and you're genuine about it, it creates a trust. We can't help it. It's not like, oh, they like my shirt, therefore I like them. It's just the effort to connect and to compliment, that people like being complimented. So it's a subconscious thing. We feel good about ourselves and the other person when we receive a compliment. But again, it has to be genuine and sincere. And the 7th thing here is to follow up and follow through. So it makes no sense when you're networking if you don't actually follow up with that person, even if it's just and my husband's so good at this. He'll follow up with just an email. Thank you for your time yesterday. It was so awesome to hear about like what you do, who you are, who you serve, even if it's not something that he's interested in. It has nothing to do with that. It's that there's the person that he's networking with might have a common person that might be of benefit. Maybe there's a connection there, like, oh, you should really meet this person. And it's not about the person necessarily that they met, but it's about building the entire network, which is the point of networking. So these are the 7 points of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And then we also have the Ford method from Ninja Selling. And the Ford method is a acronym. Oops, that's not where it is. Hold on 1 second. That stands for friends. Where did it go? I thought I had bookmarked the right area here, but apparently I did not. Okay. So F is for family or friends. O is for occupation. R is for recreation, and D is for dreams. So these are areas that people inherently like to talk about. who are willing to talk about. He does have the caveat here that in some cultures, talking about family and friends straight out the bat when you're not friends or prior acquaintances can be a little too personal. So he's like, if that's your culture, then don't do the F in the Ford, do the ORD, I guess. So he gives some suggestions as to how to like talk about each of these. Where are you originally from? How's the family? If it's like somebody that you already know, what's your son or daughter doing now? When does your daughter graduate? Like these are just kind of things that are like, I'm interested in you, your experience, where you are, but they're not so vague. That's like, how's the family? Like they're a little bit more specific, and they open people up to talking. And so if people talk, and this is again psychology, if you can get people talking, they automatically feel good about you. It's an inherent, not really thinking about it type of thing. There's even this thing in sales where they're like, the first person to talk loses, because the first person to talk is automatically kind of endeared by the other person, and they're more likely to buy from you, they're more likely to take your advice, they're more likely to do all those things. So the first one is family and friends. If you can get people talking about family or friends, they're going to endear themselves. They're going to endear themselves to you. Occupation. What do you do? How's business? What business are you in? Recreation. What do you do for fun? Did you go to the game last weekend? If you know they happen to like a local sports. What trips do you have planned? That one actually I think you could probably put under dreams, but I guess recreation and travel is kind of the same thing. How's your golf? Something that you know that they do and that they are engaged in regularly. And then the next section is dreams. And this can, unless you're done, you rarely ask someone outright, like, what are your dreams, right? But you can ask them different things like, what do you usually do for the holidays? Or do you have any trips planned this summer? What are your children's plans after they graduate? And you get people to talk about kind of the bigger aspirational things that they work for in life, because that's why they do what they do. And so if you can connect with people on those levels, then you might not get an outright sale. They might not be like, oh, I've got a wedding planned and you're a mobile bartender. We should, do the thing. But when you build a connection and a relationship where you demonstrate that you care about them beyond what they can do for you, it creates a more lasting connection with people where they think of you even potentially years later because you have done this. And the other thing about networking is that it's not a one and done thing. You want to continue to nurture that with follow-up emails. The next time you see them at networking events, go out of your way to say, hey, just want to stop by and say hi, like, how's your wife, how's your son, all those different things. Because networking is about long-term relationships, not the short-term sale. The other thing about networking is that it opens up to you their network, not just who you've met, but who they've met as well. And if you can build a good network, I'll be honest, you don't really need a social media following at all. We had this conversation yesterday. Social media, shocker, is in my opinion the least effective method of visibility for localized companies. So if you work in a local area, not nationally, not internationally, but a specific local area like mobile bars do, then social media is actually really ineffective for the amount of time, effort, and money that goes into building a good following, making sure that your content is being picked up by the algorithm and shown to the right people. Networking by and far is the best use of time, money, resources. And so these are just some of the highlights, I guess, best practices for ways to do it effectively. I'm not inherently a good networker. If you've ever met me, you probably know that. So this is an effort. It's a learned skill for some people, myself included. But yeah, so that's two ways to think about networking. Dale Carnegie kind of gives you a few breakdowns as to how to do it. And then the Ninja Selling, Larry Kendall, actually gives you questions and a framework in which to do it in a way that feels really authentic and then builds relationships. So yeah, that's my quick 15-minute lesson today. If you have any open questions, I will be here for the next few minutes. A few general mobile bar questions about the Mobile Bar Academy, questions about anything that I could possibly answer, then now is the time. And you can just drop them in the comments and they should come through into this little thing here. If you want to see the view again, happy to do that. Look at that. Oh man, got a little bit of a runny nose. Kim, where are you? Oh, here you are.
Hey.
What did you think about the workshop yesterday?
It was super good. Yeah, everyone should be there.
It was your second time at the workshop.
Yeah, it's worth repeating. Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat, and then implement.
Right, that's my problem.
Well, at least you have a framework now as to where to start.
No, I do. It's all right here in my head, and it's got to be done.
What was your favorite part of yesterday?
I think the fire pit.
Yeah, totally. It's always the networking part, which is why we include that. You know, lunch is great. You get a little bit of a reprieve and kind of get to know each other a little bit deeper. But then it's the happy hour and the fire always, you know, where people have the real deep conversations and you can start to integrate, you know, the things that you've learned and build relationships, which is really important for any entrepreneur. The networking, as is our topic today. Did you build any like relationships with people yesterday that you think will benefit your business?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that live close.
Yeah. That's
then we'll be able to do stuff together.
The localized events are really great because you get people that are close and relevant to your business. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Well, it doesn't look like we have any questions popping up. So since I'm on my way to the airport, I'm going to go ahead and hop off. Thanks to the 3 people who have stayed till the end of this lesson. And for anybody who joins and watches later, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I do actually support the comments section even after these are not live anymore. We did have a question. Look at that. We're looking for additional revenue, not additional drinks or service, but almost another revenue stream associated with their mobile bar. Thoughts and ideas. So not additional drinks or service, but another. So when you say not additional drinks and not service, it sounds, if it's not a service and it's not drinks, it sounds as though you're looking for a product. Products are a whole nother ballgame. So I'm going to start off by saying, if you have not been in this business for 1 year with one core product, okay, Paul, thank you. All I see is Facebook user. I don't know if you have to like sign up and like approve anything for me to see names, because I can see some names, but not all names. I'm actually really surprised to hear this. I'm going to call you out a little bit, Paul, but you have so many revenue streams. So many. You have like a restaurant, you have a liquor license, you have laser tag, you have equipment rentals, you have a mobile bar, you have coffee service. And so for me, my feedback, because you asked, isn't to go wider. It's to go deeper. And that was solicited advice from someone, but I really don't think additional revenue streams is what you need. I think you need to go deeper. You got to pick a revenue stream and become the one and only, the main person for that revenue stream, so that you're just gobbling up market share for that thing instead of creating additional wheels. You're also in real estate. You've got a day job. Good Lord, Paul. Additional revenue streams is not what you need. But great question. If you were not Paul Saba with 1 million revenue streams already, my recommendation, because I get this a lot from people that are just getting started out, they're a little bit slow to hit the sales that they're looking for. And so they're a knee-jerk reaction due to the fact that they're visionaries and they like to come up with ideas is, well, what additional revenue streams can we introduce? And my feedback there is, if you have not really gone deep on one single core service or product for 1 year to one niche clientele, then you shouldn't be investing in additional revenue streams. It's actually, it diffuses your energy. It decreases your overall impact to the market that you're initially trying to break into. And it can create confusion to people who are still trying to figure out who you are, what you do, and how you serve. So if you have not checked all of those boxes and done one core service for 1 year, for one niche clientele, like one ideal client, then I don't recommend additional revenue streams. I don't recommend mixers. I don't recommend cocktail classes. I don't recommend infuser kits, like none of that. Once you become like super successful and like actually have profit and good amount of momentum with a single revenue stream, it creates capacity in your business. And once you have that capacity and that additional revenue stream and that profit, you can funnel that into additional revenue streams. But that's my advice there. Great question, Paul. Thanks for bringing it up. All right, everybody. I'm going to head off to the airport. I'll spend the next 10 hours on flights and in airports, but we will do this again next week. Thanks for joining.